Hello everyone, the Victoria is here, and in this video we are going to continue to work on this screwdriver and make it a game asset. And last time this is where we had finished. However, I decided that I'm going to change the design, and instead of these cylinders I am going to use these trapezoid prisms for this handle cutout, because I kind of felt like that this kind of design is more fitting to a video game. And now we are going to convert this screwdriver into a mesh. If you want to download this starter file for this project, you can do it via my Patreon article. This is totally free. How can we convert this screwdriver into a mesh? First of all, I have to reinstall the modern GL, because if I restart Blender, somehow CSDF forgets that I already installed the modern GL. The second step is to add some bounds, so let's click add the bounds. And this bounds is like way too large. So let's go to front view and let's grab this guy and move it with the G key. And yet again, I forget to enable the screencast keys, but no worries, now I enabled it roughly like so. Now the bounds is set, and we have two objects, one for the plastic handle, one for the metal part. CSDF currently treats everything as one mesh, which is not good for us. In order to export it separately, we have to disable one and then export that or convert to mesh what is visible, and then vice versa. So first let's convert to mesh this metal part, and the density should be pretty high. For me at 4000 this worked well. The smoothing iteration 1 will be enough, and the decimetry, the ratio is 0.75. I click use word mirror, but maybe we don't have to use that. So let's first of all create this high poly mesh. It didn't take too long, but I accelerated during the edit. And let's clean up the mesh chunks. And now we have a mesh. In fact, okay, let's move this GX by 8. Let's say 8. And as you can see, this looks pretty good. And also, if I turn on this mirror, you can see that the tip is a bit weird. Maybe because of this merge. Yeah, I guess the merge distance was the faulty party, but if I turn this off, then still the mesh is visible, so I don't need this. I can delete this. The voxel remesh is fine, so I can apply it. The smoothing, I think I am pretty pleased with it, so let's apply this as well. The decimate ratio is 0.75. The face count is 51,000 roughly. I can deal with it. This is meant to be a high poly mesh. Let's rename this metal part HP, which stands for metal part high poly, and let's move it to a new collection. And now let's make sure that the CSDF mesh is empty. Let's turn on the plastic part and let's turn off the metal parts, and then let's generate the high poly mesh. Let's clean up the mesh chunks. Okay, and let's move it at the x-axis. And I think this looks pretty good. Let's check the mirror modifier. Can I turn this off? And indeed I can. So I remove this. I am okay with this voxel remesh. I am okay with this smoothing. And this ended up like 200,000 faces. This is a high poly mesh for me. This works. So let's apply this. And let's move this to the high poly, and this is the handle high poly mesh. So let's save this file, and at this point I usually start a new blend file. So here I am, and this time I not really confined to use Blender 3.3, so I use the current version, which is Blender 4.4, and I usually append the two objects that I had created, the handle HP and the metal part HP. I can select them with the Control key. So append this. Let's rename this collection to high poly, and let's create a new collection for the low poly objects. And let's turn off the handle and let's start with the metal part HP. And let's hit Alt G. And let's add a cylinder, which is way too high and way too high poly. And let's add 12 vertices. The radius is 0.02 meters. And the depth, let's make it 0.1. And by the way, let's convert the units to centimeters. And I this is still too large, because this is supposed to be 0.4 centimeters. And let's go to edit mode, and let's make it the bottom vertices to be at 0 and the top vertices. And you know what, let's go into wireframe mode around 14 centimeters. And let's zoom right in, and now we should do a loop cut by hitting the Ctrl R keys. And I think I am going to put a loop cut here. And at the bottom of this feature of this mesh. And let's do another loop cut around like here, and another loop cut like so. And another loop cut where this feature is kind of curves into it. And another loop cut here. Yeah, I think I am kind of liking this. Now we need another loop cut at the top of this metal where starts to shrink. I think this is roughly here. So if you look at this, we have a vertex on the y-axis, but I wouldn't mind turn this so that we would have like a flat edges here, and I should turn this let's say minus 15 degrees, that's fine. And I would like to apply this rotation, and I would like to apply the scale as well. And now what I can do is to add a shrink wrap modifier, and I would like to make it project both positive and negative, and the target I want it to be the metal part high poly mesh. But I don't want to project everything. To be honest, what I find is the best if I am just projecting these loop cuts. So let's go back to edit mode, and let's select these these 4 edge loops, and let's create a vertex group and assign these to that vertex group. And then apply this shrink wrap to this vertex group. And now, as you can see, it only messes with those that are belonging to this vertex group. Let's switch this to random, and you maybe even easily see what I am talking about. And what I can do is to make it 0.05 the offset, to make sure that it goes above surface. Let's make it above surface. And now I think this basic low poly shape is kind of working because it reflects enough. If I don't really want to add this into the shrink wrap, let me just show you what happened if I add this. Because it creates some kind of weird result, and by hand modeling we can do better. So let's go back to object mode, and let's apply this shrink wrap modifier, and let's name our object before I forget. And let's go back to edit mode, and let's hit Ctrl F7 to see the bottom page. And let's select 2 of these vertices, and then let's hit Ctrl S and make sure that the cursor goes to selected. And I just want to grab these 4 vertices, and let's scale them along the x-axis to 0. However, I should choose the median point to be the 3D cursor, so x-axis 0. And let's do the same thing on the other side. Ctrl S, cursor to selected, and let's hit S, X, and 0. And now we have like a nice flat area. Let's select 2 of these vertices, and let's hit the J, so that I am going to split up by these rectangle shapes. And let's break up this on top as well. So I think I kind of like this. And let's grab the opportunity to mark some seams. So I usually go to the back part, and let's click on that edge, and then let's click on this guy here, and you can choose edge mark seam. I use this function quite frequently, so I already added from my quick favorites. So if you right click on this, you can add to the favorites, but now it's already there for me. So if I press the Q key, I can choose mark seam. And also let's grab these faces. Let's select boundary loop and Q mark seam. However, I usually clear the seam at one side, so this at least I usually don't really like to separate these small parts, and I did the same thing. My clear seam menu item is in my quick favorites as well. So if you are doing or planning to do lots of game assets, click on these two edges mark seam, and I can clear seam there. And let's all click on the top, not that one. Shift Alt click more precisely and Q mark seam, and I also clear the seam here, and I think I kind of like this. So let's go back to object mode and let's do a model for the handle as well. Let's hit Alt G, and again let's Ctrl S, cursor to word origin, and let's add a cylinder, 24 edges, because in order to capture this we need a bit more poly count. And let's go to edit mode straight away and let's hit GZ and move it up top so that it roughly matches the top of the screwdriver. And S Shift Z, the median point is still is the cursor, but it doesn't really matter. S Shift Z again so that I can match it well. And let's grab the bottom face, hit 3 and select the bottom face and GZ, and let's move it up slightly. And now what do I want to do is to yet again add some loop cuts to this. So let's add one like so. I would like to add some loop cuts wherever there is like a feature change or a the shape of this screwdriver changes. And let's move it like so. I think I wouldn't mind adding one there and adding one here. Perhaps one here, and shall I add one more here? I'm not so sure, to be honest. But we can add it later as well. Let's hit the S key. Sorry, let's switch back to median point, the transform origin, transform pivot point, S Shift Z, and then let's move it a bit upward. And yeah, we need one more loop cut, S Shift Z, just to give it a bit more form. and Shift Z to scale. And while we are at it, let's select these two edge loops. And again, let's create another vertex group for the shrink wrap modifier. I'm not so as Shift Z, the Shift Z might not be needed since we are scaling at the median point, so the simple scale will do as well. And let's add this to this vertex group as well. And let's add this to this vertex group, and I think I should scale this down and perhaps move it a bit down too. I decided that I'm not going to add another edge loop here. Let's see. We are at the moment 290 faces and 620 triangles. If I add a loop cut here, what would be the result? This will be the statistics so far. So let's go to this mode. So let's go back to object mode and let's add a shrink wrap modifier as we did before. Project, above surface, negative and positive. The handle HP is the target. And we only want to make sure that this group is affected. Let's just grab this guy here with the alt click and let's move to GZ. Let's see how that goes. We can do a bit of offset if we want to, but I am not sure that this is really needed. Yeah, let's move this a bit up and down and do some adjustments. Let's check the top part. I think the top part is okay. I think overall I am liking this shape. And also what we have to do is now do some UV editing. So let's grab this guy here. Shift click this one. And let's shift click this one and Q mark seam. What is this edge here? But I think I am going to let's only edges and faces. I leave it here. Maybe instead of the J key, I hit the F key instead. Select these and hit the J key. That's 3 for face selection. Let's hit the C for the circle tool. Now it's okay. I managed to do the same mistake twice. Awesome. And select the boundary loop and then Q mark seam, and I usually like to clear seam just so that it sticks together. Let's see the bottom. Let's hit the escape key and 3, select faces, and now this is okay. Select boundary loop, Q mark seam, and Q clear seam. Have I managed to clear the seam on both on the same side. No, not really. So Q clear seam. Okay, now we have the seams. Let's rename this object to and be organized. And let's hit object mode and let's hit Ctrl S. And let's turn on both the metal part and the handle part. And let's do some UV unwrapping here. Let's hit the A key and then UV unwrap angle based. I know that there is this unwrap minimum stretch, but this gave me weird results. So I think I am going to stuck with the angle based, and I choose the margin method to be scaled. Let's hit 0.2 or maybe 0.5. Yeah, I am kind of liking this space between the two. The UV space is not necessarily optimized, but to be honest, for this object, I don't really want to introduce a seam at this bottom part or the metal part, if you like, just so that I can have an optimized space, UV space. And now let's select this edge here. This is the plastic parts UV unwrapping, and there is an align rotation menu item, and let's choose the edge. And this makes it so that these parts in the middle are vertical, at least most of it, which I like. Here in the metal parts, I am not worried, but we can do the same thing, align rotation edge. And now this is, I am pleased with this UV unwrapping so far. But now what I want to do is to check this UV space, and if these high poly, low poly objects are working, is to bake the normals. I am not going to do the texturing, that is going to be the next video, but I would like to bake the normal map so far. So let's choose the shade smooth option here. And now let's focus on the metal part, HPLP. And in order to bake the normals, we should switch the cycles. We should use GPU compute if you have a decent video card. You can set up the video card in the system menu in the preferences. I have an RTX video card, so I am going to use the optics renderer. Okay, now we should go to the bake tab, and we are going to bake the normal. Tangent is fine, selected to active, and I'm going to set the extrusion at 0.5 centimeters. The margin size, I am going to set this for 4 pixels because I am going to create a 128, I said 128 pixel normal map. We don't need the alpha channel, new image. And the reason why I'm setting up 128 normal map, because what I had calculated that for this project 1024 pixels will be used for 1 meter, which is kind of like a middle level detail as far as I know. And in this way, this metal part is around 14 centimeters. So our UV space is around 14 centimeters, and I think the 128 pixel will be just fine for this small asset. So let's create a new low poly material screwdriver LP BL. Let's see, BL mat. I usually like to mark that this is the Blender material that I had used and I misspelled it. Okay, now let's hit the dot key in the shader editor. This is how my workspace is typically set up. I have an image editor and the shader editor instead of this default animation timeline settings. You can drag out new workspaces and you can collapse them all, and here in the left top corner you can set up the different types. So this is the shader editor and this is the image editor. And let's add Shift A texture, image texture, and let's grab this normal, and the color space is non-color because this is going to be the normal map. I usually control clicking until the LP is this light orange color and the HP object this darker orange color. And in this case, the selected goes to active, meaning the HP is going to be baked to the LP. And make sure that this normal texture is selected. This time I choose clear image because this is my first bake. So let's bake this. And I think this bake looks okay. What I like to do is let's Alt D at the X by, let's say, 6, and we should add a normal map, and let's grab this color and let's add this to the normal value, and let's go to texture view, and in this way I can preview this texture bake if it looks okay or not. It seems to me that this looks fine. So let's do the same thing for the handle LP. I should apply this shrink wrap. As you can see, I made a mistake again, since I forget to clean up this clear image. Now I have to rebake the LP again. And now this time, this is roughly okay. However, as you can see, the UVs are not far enough because this second bake is now overlap the handles UVs. So let's go back to UV editing, and that is the reason why I wanted to bake the normal map, because so that I can see that these kind of errors are kind of discovered. So let's go back to layout, and this time let's clear the image and let's rebake the whole thing. I am going to get back to you when I have done this. So here is the finished normal map, and let's turn on these duplicates, and I think this should be at 5 centimeters. And now this looks good to me. So this is as far as I wanted to go with this video. I hope you have enjoyed it and learned something from it, and see you in the next one. Goodbye for now.